¿Qué onda, mi gente? Today we're going to talk about the most difficult varieties of Spanish. Let's get into it. Right, so that was Dominican Spanish. So the Dominican Republic is an island down off the coast of Florida, and you also get lots of Dominican influence in Spanish when it comes to the East Coast. So you see a lot in Miami, you see a lot in like New York and Boston. And so one of the hardest things about Dominican Spanish in just the islands in general, Puerto Rico and Cuba, is their speed. They talk so fast. They speak so quickly, and I think
cogiéndolo con tequirisi.
¿Qué lo que, manín?
Tranquilo como un mango que no ha caído.
Dímelo cantando, tío.
between Dominicans and Cubans, I'm not sure who speaks faster. I would say that the Dominicans speak faster, but they do speak a little bit clearer than the Cubans. The Cuban Spanish is a little bit more swallowed, a little bit more muffled. The other big problem is they tend to swallow certain sounds, right? Specifically, the S at the end of words is oftentimes not said, which that's okay. That's a common feature we find in lots of different varieties of Spanish all over the Spanish-speaking world, right? So that is something you have to get used to regardless of the country you go, is the tendency to drop off S's from the end of the word. And then in the Dominican, you also get the absence of the D in between sounds, right? So it's not estoy cansado, it's estoy cansado. It's not the car is stopped, el carro está parado, it's el carro está parado. Or instead of A-D-O, they drop out that D and just have the A-O. You see this in the islands, you see this in the Canary Islands in Spain, and you see it in Spain itself, specifically in the south, which most of the immigrants who arrived to Latin America, specifically to the islands, came from that southern part of Spain. And that's why you see that overlap. This was Cuban Spanish. As we talked about with the Dominican Spanish, you have to deal with, one, they speak really, really fast, right? I remember when I was 18, I'd been studying Spanish for 4 years, and I went to Miami.
Oye, mi hermana, no te pongas en esa. Apúrate, mi hermana. Mi hermana, ¿qué habla contigo? Y si eres mayor, puede ser hasta un...
That felt like a completely different world. I did not understand anything. If I talked to like Mexicans in Ohio or in Kentucky, I understood them. I could have little conversations. I felt like I could communicate pretty well and get my point across, right? But then the Cubans would speak, and I was just like, oh my God, I don't know what's going on. And I went to Calle Ocho, which is like the main Latin street in Miami, and I went to go play dominoes with these old folks. One, I don't know how to play dominoes. And two, I couldn't understand what they're saying. And it was utterly insane how fast they speak. They also tend to have like a muffled sound. Lots of people make fun of them, saying that they sound like they just got out of the dentist, right? And their mouth is still numb, right? Kind of tend not to have that like muffled sound. Right? And while they do have this muffled sound, they're also very loud and they sound very aggressive, which, while that shouldn't be a problem for your understanding of what's going on, it is like psychologically something that, at least for me, messed with me. Right? Where I was like, oh my God, why are they yelling? Why are they so loud? Which you also see in the Dominican. You see it a little bit in Puerto Rico.
Por todo el aeropuerto. Llegué al avión y tenía retraso. O sea que el avión iba a salir más tarde de lo previsto. Así que ahí tuve que esperar. Después de media hora me subí al avión y me fui. Pero ese no era el avión que me...
So that was an example of Chilean Spanish. So here we have a similar problem that we do when we listen to Dominican speak or Cuban speak, where they speak really fast. They tend not to say the S. And they also have weird sound. And they also have just some weird sounds, right? Specifically the S, while sometimes they just don't say it at all, a lot of the times it gets pronounced as an I, right? So it's not como estás, como estai. Not donde estás, but donde estai. It's not caminas en el parque, it's caminai en el parque.
Le pones, le poní, tienes, tení, y ya todo junto queda algo así. Voy, quería hacer el acento chileno. Ya, bueno, tiro, te enseño, weón. Yo lo llevo practicando caleta.
And so this can be the biggest confusion when it comes to Chilean Spanish. As most people are not used to this like sound change, but as long as you're aware of it, it's not terribly hard to understand. What is hard to understand is their very unique vocabulary they have. The accent is kind of like twangy. I think it sounds kind of like a banjo. You can think of it as like in the US, the equivalent of listening to somebody from Appalachia, West Virginia. It has this very twangy sound to it. And they also have just very, very unique words that you don't find in any other country.
A contenernos un poco, decir, bueno, che, ustedes hablan de Mendoza, pero bueno, la parte del folclore sepan que pasa esto, que Palorma era huarpe, que nació en La Paz, que para no...
So that was an example here of Argentinian Spanish. And so the big thing with the Argentinian Spanish, one is the intonation. They put the emphasis on the last syllable of all the words for tú. And they also don't use tú, but they use vos.
Tenés mucho talento para la música. ¿Puedo decir?
In tú and vos in Argentina and in parts of Central America, it's the same. It both means like you, and it's both informal, right? Just some countries prefer this older style word. It doesn't have that older style connotation, but it is older. You also get messed up by that rhythm intonation as well as some of the words they use.
¿Qué? Para espantar.
Espantar.
Para espantar un perro le dicen huira.
Cuida.
Argentina, Uruguay had a huge influence of mostly Italians, right? As well as Spanish and German, right? So you get lots of words that have been taken from other languages and put into Spanish, specifically Italian, right? Like grosso, which in Italian is big, is used in Argentina to mean like you're great. Sos grosso.
Nunca había trabajado en castellano. Todos los papeles que me habían ofrecido hasta ahora podía utilizar mi acento andaluz.
And last but not least, that's an example of Spain Spanish, right? Which Spain Spanish has a couple of things working against it that make it hard for us to understand. One, they have that lisp, right? Where the S sound is not pronounced as sa, but tha, caza, mazo, cerveza, cerveza. You also have the idea of vosotros, which vosotros means like y'all in Spain. Ustedes is you all formal versus Latin America, where ustedes is just the you all for everybody.
Pero como se cerraron la frontera, ya no pudieron venir, no han venido todavía más. Nosotros no entendemos de esto, pero eso no es barato ni nada, ¿no? Es muy barato la casa.
Some places also, specifically in the South, tend to speak super, super fast, and they have very unique vocabulary. Being that they're the originators of Spanish, right? They have a much wider lexicon that is used. You see a lot less words that are from indigenous languages, and you just get a wider variety of words you can use. Vocabulary, the dictionary there is just so much bigger. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to like, subscribe, do all that stuff. If you want to practice with some of what we just discussed today in this video, or leave comments, thoughts, opinions, do so down in the comments. I will get back to you. And if you want to learn about upcoming group classes or private classes, you can reach out via WhatsApp or email, and I will get you more information on that. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next class.